Dear students, let me begin this lecture with a map. Now, this map is a map of a village and these are footpaths, these are houses, households, different households, and the household which have been circled, this household, these are the worst of households. Means we also distinguish between well off or normal or rich households on the one hand, these are all rich or normal households, and these encircled households are the worst of households. This is a temple and this is a well as these indicators show, and there are other structures. This is other structure. This map can be drawn by anyone, it can be drawn by you, and you can show many more things in the map. You can show the building of the Gram Panchayat, you can show other things, ponds, and then you can also show some trees or plants. What is so great about this map? Now, the great thing about this map is that this map is not drawn by an expert, it is not drawn by a social scientist or a geographer, it is not drawn by an artist. This is drawn by women who belong to this village, and it is called social map by women. So, there are two important aspects of this map. One, that this map has been drawn, it has been drawn not necessarily on a piece of paper, it is drawn on the earth and it is drawn by women belonging to this village, and it is called social map because it shows the differences between ordinary households and worst of or poor households, and temple and other things, well, etc., can be shown. The exercise in which people belonging to the community, to the village themselves draw these maps and discuss issues of social development while drawing the map, or the facilitator or the researcher as a facilitator raises questions about the various things on the map and people respond. This is a special technique which is called participatory research, that people belonging to the community or the village themselves are responsible for these maps, and the facilitator responds to these maps and discussion by asking further questions. So, there is lot of learning, and this learning is about the people, about their perceptions, ambitions, perspectives on development, definitions of development, approaches to development, and they might differ from one community to another in the same village. This is called participatory research. Like these are the women, these women, you know, on here with the help of some slips on which something is written, are trying to evolve a map, and this lady is the facilitator. This facilitator is not asking question as in questionnaire or in interview schedule. She is not even deciding what questions to be asked. These women are given a particular task. Okay, let us play. It is a kind of play for villagers, and facilitator simply facilitates discussion on some chosen topic, and these women respond. They can draw something with the help of pencil, or they can put up stones and we count number of stones, they make circles, and this is how participatory research approach, sometime called RRA, sometime called PRA, participatory action research PRA, RRA means rapid rural appraisal. These techniques are used to elicit people's perspectives on development without using a structured interview schedule or questionnaire, or without using qualitative methods of interview or observations or other types. So, this RRA, rapid rural appraisal, here the term rapid may not necessarily indicate rapid. This rapid rural appraisal may be done in a very slow manner. You can spend hours together with community members, these women or men, discussing something, as long as they are available to you, they are interested in interacting with you, and this leads to quick understanding of rural sites, usually on topics related to development. And the facilitators may comprise of an interdisciplinary team of experts. There may be economists, sociologists, anthropologists, geographers, psychologists, or political scientists, depending on what is being discussed, and this discovers people's perspectives, which may be many. In the same village, there may be several perspectives on the developmental issues. So, this special technique of research in which we draw inferences or we make maps or Venn diagrams, also called chapati diagrams, is called participatory research technique, and this lecture will focus on this participatory research. The focus of this lecture is on rapid rural appraisal RRA and participatory rural appraisal PRA. Their philosophy, their approaches and contributions. Then we will also take up major domains of applications. I will give you some examples of social map. I have already given you one example of social map, and resources map and timeline, then Venn diagram, and then limitations and future scope of participatory methods. PRA, there are 5 major sources of PRA. This is participatory action research. One is agro-ecosystem analysis. Robert Chambers and others who founded this method applied this to basically study of agro-economic and ecosystem analysis. Cropping patterns, livelihood, environment, ecology, economics of rural settlements. Then applied anthropology. Anthropology is based on field work. This is a special kind of anthropology which called applied anthropology, in which we are using the idea of field work, but in place of the researcher making observations or interviewing people or key informants or gatekeepers or engaging them in say brainstorming sessions, as we have seen in situation analysis. Here here members of the community themselves throw maps, which becomes a play for them, through drawing of maps etc., explain things related to environment, development, migration, health, education. There are nowadays several fields in which PRA, RRA techniques have been used, and farming systems research, then rapid rural appraisal. Some works on PRA. For further understanding of PRA techniques, I would advise you to read the following books. I mentioned 3 books. One is by Robert Chambers, Rural Development, Putting the Last First. Putting the last first at the title of the book itself shows that Robert Chambers and his team are trying to understand issues connected to rural development, but from the perspective of the last person, means from the perspective of the worst of households rather than from the perspective of normal or ordinary or well off sections of society. Now, Chamber Roberts later on, this early book Putting the Last First was written in 1983. In 1997, he wrote another book, and the title of the book was Whose Reality Counts, Putting the First Last. And there is another book by Somesh Kumar. This is again a beautiful book in which a large number of maps, diagrams and techniques of participatory research, philosophy, history, applications etc., are given, and you can learn PRA techniques easily from there, from so many diagrams that they have given, and this book was written in 2002. So, you can make use of this book also. In addition, Neela Mukherjee has published several books on development using participatory methods. They are published by the Concept of New Delhi, and you may also like to read some material from there. So, this PRA technique starts with disillusionment with questionnaire surveys in the field of development. Why? What is the disillusionment? Disillusionment is with their inadequacy, late results and inexactness. See, large scale surveys take lot of time. They take lot of time in planning, in administering interview schedules, in bringing back the field of forms, then in coding, data entry, analysis, report writing, statistical analysis, and at every stage questions may be asked about appropriateness of the techniques used. And still you feel quite dissatisfied or disillusioned with the findings. Otherwise, if surveys and interviews or ethnographic works had provided adequate understanding of rural development issues, then there was no need for PRA or RRA exercises. Because we are not happy with the surveys, so many large scale, statewide, district wise, all kinds of surveys have been conducted, and at the end of them we still feel dissatisfied with the findings. We feel as though we do not yet understand the development issues from people's perspective. Later on, this produce rapid rural appraisal. When you want something quick, you want a quick analysis of impact of say Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Scheme. You want quick results of impact of new changes in health or family planning policy or right to education program. What has happened to literacy, enrollment rates and related issues after say 2 years, 3 years, 4 years of implementation of right to education program RTE, and you do not want to conduct a nationwide survey. So, then and you also want holistic information about it, in which you cover facilities, you cover people's attitudes, you cover say number of teachers, you cover building, you cover purpose or meaning of education to people, you cover livelihood issues, employment and employment of children or and also child rights. So, that holistic picture of education or impact of right to education program, a quick impact of that can be used can be conducted by using PRA or RRA. And in this PRA or RRA, teams of investigators or teams of experts, multidisciplinary team of experts go to villages, interact with people, play some games, and with the help of people draw maps and diagrams and interact with them. When they are making maps or diagrams, you also interact with why are you drawing like this, why is this circle bigger, what are the difficulties in migration, and the facilitators or experts note down the responses of the people, and maps drawn by the people and the field notes become the outcome of this research. Here I have already mentioned this, but I am repeating that the term rural is misnomer. PRA has been applied in both urban and rural settings. Initially, because it all started with studies of agro and ecological and economic systems. So, this happened in rural areas, rural settings, but nowadays PRA, RRA exercises, methodologies of PRA, RRA are also being used in study of organizations and in urban areas. Regarding philosophy, approaches and contributions, there is reversal of learning, there is rapid and progressive learning. This offsets biases of the researcher, and there are multidisciplinary teams of researchers. So, it removes biases. Optimal ignorance, this is a beautiful term from PRA, RRA exercises. Optimal ignorance, we do not want to know everything, we want to know at minimum cost what we need to know. If we want to implement some new scheme, what do we want to know about implementation issues of that scheme? That is all. We do not want to know everything. That is why it is called optimal ignorance. In surveys also we do not know everything, but here the goal is very clear, optimal, that at minimum cost, cost in terms of manpower, in terms of money, in terms of time, we want that limited knowledge which is essential for implementation of the programs or for understanding development issues, definitions, concepts, perspectives from people's point of view. Triangulation, another advantage of this is triangulation. You can combine two or more methods of PRA, RRA, or you can also combine PRA with survey research or ethnographic work, field work, or you can combine observations and PRA, RRA exercises. It includes complexity, it is complex, yes, it is complex, uncertain, unplanned to some extent. Yeah. When you interact with the people at that time, by understanding them, interacting with them, by developing empathy, rapport, by looking at the characteristics or composition of your people, your community, you decide about the technique. And diversity, you can hold these exercises in the same village at different places, so that you can see things from different perspectives on the basis of maybe class, on the basis of maybe religion, on the basis of caste and so on. The assumptions behind PRA, RRA exercises are that the poor and marginalized are capable of analyzing their own realities, that everybody, even very poor people, illiterate, even illiterate people whom you call ignorant, even ignorant and poor people are capable of analyzing their own realities. They can and should be empowered to analyze. That is another advantage of PRA, RRA exercises, that when you are involving them, when you are discussing with them various developmental issues, you are also giving them choices, you are making them aware of what are alternatives before them. And this giving alternatives to community members for action, for interventions, and for approaching the authorities, for services and so on, this is also empowering the people. So, as we say that one unique aspect of qualitative research is healing. Here in PRA RRA exercises, one unique aspect, a novel aspect of PRA RRA exercises is empowerment of people. They are, when they are involved in analysis of the difficulties they face in their life, in their livelihood issues, in their migration issues, in their education issues, health issues, then you also empower them and give them choices. The outsiders should act as conveners, catalysts and facilitators. Okay. Self-critical awareness of the facilitator is an essential prerequisite. The facilitator must be unbiased, reflexive, and reflexive means self-critical, that the facilitator is willing or is ready to question the inferences that he or she draws by conducting a study in the field. The facilitator should reflect critically on their concepts. Is my concept okay, or does my concept match with the people's concepts? Am I seeing things from my value perspectives or from people's? Should I not make an effort to understand things from people's perspective by using value system of the people? Does my research reflect my attitudes or attitudes of the community and behavior on a regular basis? So, this is a continuous exercise. We can visit, revisit the same village, same community and learn continuously. So, so that we optimally know things, concepts and values of the people, attitudes of the people and understand their behavior on a regular basis. Then learning should be experiential in nature and based on principles of adult learning, means through communication, understanding communication. Major domains of applications of PRA RRA methods are space related PRA methods. I will show you some maps and diagrams regarding this space related PRA method, time related PRA methods, PRA relation method which aims at forming relationships between different concepts or different things. These methods are used creatively by the team of experts. As in qualitative research, methodologies or methods are not standardized. In PRA RRA also methods are not standardized. When you read Robert Chambers' books or you read Some's book or you read Neela Mukherjee's book, you certainly come to know what methods have been used in PRA and RRA in different settings and in different countries, but you need not confine to them. You know, it is unlike in quantitative methods, we tell you how to determine sample size, what are unbiased and efficient estimates of these things, and you have to use them only. But in PRA RRA exercises, you use methods creatively and reflexively. You can decide what your own methods should be. You can invent new methods or you can combine two or more methods which are given in the standard books. Space related PRA methods focus on drawing social maps. Social map, just right in the beginning of this lecture I showed you the social map, and this social map differentiated between rich or ordinary households on the one hand and worst off or poor households on the other. This also showed you a temple and a well and the roads. So, this is social map. You can show many more things. You can show communities, you can show age distribution, you can show literacy status, school and other things. Resource map, what kind of resources exist in the village with the help of a map, and I will give you an example of resource map. Mobility map, map means movement of people. Are people of the village non-migratory or they move? Where do they move? What distances do they cover? in which direction, for what purpose. Mobility maps can show that, or if people have come from other places, what are those other places, important places, how many people have come from there, how much distance they have travelled, and what is the aim of in migration. Those things can be shown. Services and opportunities map, and transect walk, you simply walk along the village road or outside and look at the quality of soil, cropping patterns, and size of land holding, presence of trees or forests or irrigation facilities or animals, whatever you want to see. So, you are moving around the village or from one place in the village to another place, other extreme or outside village, and you are drawing this map yourself or through the interdisciplinary team of researchers. Then participatory census method. Census, this participatory census means that there is a census, we count, but this counting is done in a participatory manner. In population census of India, it is the investigator who counts. In industrial census of India, it is investigator who looks at the balance sheets, but here in participatory census, people conduct their own census, how many of which category, and the principle of optimum ignorance shows that we do not ask all kinds of questions. In census, you ask 22 questions including fertility, mortality, literacy, religion, marital status, disability, but in participatory census, you may simply confine to those questions which are of direct interest to planners or to you at that point of time. Time related. Now, time related, I will show you some maps, timeline, trend analysis, seasonal diagram and dream map. In this presentation, some figures are reproduced from Somesh Kumar methods for community participation, some from Google images and some from our own experiences. So, this is a relational method, shows cause and effect diagram, impact. These are different methods which establish relationship, and these methods are cause and effect. You can write effects here, you can write effects in the columns, causes here in the rows, impact in the same way, what is the impact of this on this. So, you can identify different things for study of impact and see what is the impact of this, impact of this, impact of this, and you can use systems diagram, algorithms, you can use Venn diagram, matrix ranking method, force field analysis and pie diagram for showing relationships between different things. Here you see this seasonal diagram is prepared by the community members, and so many indicators have been used, colors have been used, and a matrix form has been used. You can make use of such things creatively. You know, this seasonal diagram shows what are the values of these things. Say what is crop, this is what is cropping pattern, what about loans in different months, and so on, and month wise this information is provided by the community members, and you keep on asking questions. Actually, many things come out when you ask question about why are they showing these things in this month, why and why only this much, why not more, why not less, why did it increase from this month to this month. These kinds of questions can be asked. And then matrix ranking method, this I have taken from Google images. The activities, people will themselves say what how many activities are involved in something, like here in 7 activities are mentioned, and milk collection, yogurt making, artificial insemination, buying something, starting a saving scheme, buying fencing material, starting a shop and so on, and these are how many people state them. So, on the basis of how many people state them, you can rank them, like this activity is mentioned by 9 people. So, maximum number of people are reporting this activity, milk collection, and like imagine that you are asking the people what kind of activities should be started in this village for the benefit of most of the villagers, and most. So, there are 9 votes or there are 9 people who are reporting milk collection. So, rank 1, and the minimum rank is of artificial insemination service or buying fencing material. These are least important. There should be 6 or 7, but because equal number of 2 persons have mentioned them. So, both of them are given the rank 6 and 6. You can give them 6.5, 6.5 using quantitative methods, does not matter. So, this gives an overall picture of from people's perspective what kind of activities will benefit the people. Social map is the most important tool of PRA. It is made by the participants, not experts, shows people's perceptions of social reality such as school, temple, houses, post office, etc., provides a forum for discussion, serves as monitoring and evaluation tool. In addition, using symbols, it can provide details. For example, social map is the most important tool of PRA. It is made by the participants, not experts. It shows people's perceptions of social reality such as schools, temples, houses, post office. You can include many more things here, like you can include panchayat office or hospital. Provides a forum for discussion, because I have been saying that while people are involved, community members are involved in drawing picture, they may be illiterate, they cannot write something, they cannot read something, but they can certainly draw pictures and diagrams. It is a fun for them to draw pictures and diagram. It serves as monitoring and evaluation tool, whether certain activities have been started as a result of some program. In addition, using symbols, it can provide details like exact number of boys and girls going to school, going to temple, going to post office or other things, going to hospital. Also you can show maybe by type of diseases. This is an example of social map of some village, and this is from Somesh Kumar's book figure 2.1. I have taken a photocopy of that. Now, this shows boys, girls, unenrolled, enrolled, dropouts. It also shows school, convent, railway track, highway, temple, post office, Anganwadi, Bor and Chavdi. This is a beautiful map, and interestingly this map is not made by the expert. Expert only facilitates. The map is made by the people. People tell you that these are the road, these are houses, these are temples, these are schools, and so many boys and girls are attending school. This kind of map is called social map, and we write a title, and we also write here, it is not written in this map, but we write in the corner the name of the facilitator and also the names of the community members, with help of whom we have drawn this map. While drawing the map, we ask, is there any reason why this is located here and not somewhere else, why not here? So, the people will come up with different answers, and these answers are also of interest to experts, and they can take notes, and these notes are analyzed later as in qualitative research. Resource map. Resource maps show topography, terrain and slopes, forest, vegetation and tree species, soil type, fertility of land, erosion and depth. So, soil fertility, soil erosion and soil depth, land use, water, water bodies, watershed development and agricultural development and cropping pattern, productivity, etc. There are also mobility maps for understanding mobility patterns, places of visit and frequency, distance, mode of transport, purpose of visit, preference and accessibility. Now, this is a mobility map from this I have taken from Google Images, but it is simple and this shows how the mobility maps can be drawn. These are this is the place where you are sitting and these are the places to which people move. More distant is a place from here, from the community, greater is the distance of migration, and the size of the circles can also show how frequent is the move. So, to which places and how frequently, and whether there is residence, working place, scientific conference, leisure, family reunion. The purposes can also be shown, they can be shown with the help of colors, like red is residence, blue is working place and so on. So, this is mobility map. This shows where do people belonging to this community go, how far, for what purpose, for and how frequently. The thickness of these lines show how frequently they move, like the highest thickness here means daily to 3 per week, and the line which is most thin shows one important return trip. So, this is one important return trip, and the thickest line this would be daily 2-3 per week. So, so many things can be shown with the help of mobility map. This is again an example of social map, which we have already discussed. Social map with group membership and well-being category details. This here we write date. This map was drawn on 17th April 1999. Facilitator was Srihari. Participants are these. These are names of the participants, and this map also makes a distinction between ST, SC and Muslims. So, wherever you find this indication, these houses are ST, these kinds of houses are BC, and these houses are Muslims. So, we can also distinguish between different castes and communities, and we can show on this map all these things. These are the people, and these are primary school, temple, with different symbols, with different indicators, you can show different things. This is social map. This is services and opportunities map. Okay. What are the services available to the village, and how far and in which direction, like this is high school, this is 10 kilometer, hospital is 10 kilometer, township government 10 kilometer, this station is only 3 kilometer, market is 15 kilometer, like this. So, you can this senior school is 30 kilometer. For senior level education, people have to move as much as 30 kilometers, and for airport people have to move again 30 kilometers. So, this services and opportunities map. These are the services that people will need, how distant they are, this is shown by this. Suppose you want, you also ask another question, how much cost is involved, say transportation cost is involved in travelling so much, that can also be shown. That can be shown, suppose I want to show that transportation cost, all this is 10 kilometer and this is also 10 kilometer, but because of differences in mode of transportation, this cost is 3 times the cost of this. So, I can ask the people to write some pieces of stones on these lines, and if they write 3 here and 1 here, so that will means this is 3 times the cost of 10 kilometer of high school. That going to hospital, although both are 10 kilometers, but going to hospital involves cost 3 times, or you can ask them to tell us in rupees how much cost is involved. So, if they cannot understand 5 rupees, 10 rupees, if they are not literate and have numeric sense, then you can ask them to make categories of cost, little bit, somewhat, moderate, affordable, very high, and accordingly with different colors or sizes you can show them. This is a timeline of epidemics in village Akbarpur, Kanpur. This is from a study in which I was also involved, and this shows that over the years what kind of epidemics. In 1990 there was measles and dengue. In 1995 means between 90 and 95 there was no epidemic. In 95 again it was malaria, 97 malaria, 99 malaria, 2000 dengue, 2006 eye infection and dengue. People are telling. Now, it is quite possible that they are telling dengue, but it was actually something else. We are not judging them, and we are not seeing things from medical experts point of view. We are seeing things from people's point of view. So, we can even ask a question like, do you think that there was a case of dengue in 1990? We have not, as far as I understand, there was no dengue in this area in 1990, and listen to them what they say. They may say various things, they may say nahi, you may say anything, but these were the cases of dengue, or they may say something else. So, note down and you get people's perspective. This is timeline 1985, 1998, 2000, village Mandhana, Kanpur, UP, again from our own study. Lack of food, there was so much, these so many circles show that there was so much lack of food in 1985. In 1998 it reduced, and in 2000 food, these are drought years, and there was again a severe shortage of food. Similarly, scarcity of water is very little. In this drought year there was less scarcity of water, say drinking water, there was more scarcity here and equal scarcity of water shown by 2 circles here. Migration, earlier migration was very less. In the second drought year there was more migration, double, you can say double the size of this migration, and then migration was tremendous. Lot of people migrated when the drought occurred third time in this period 1985 to 2000. Maybe now people got panicky and they thought that in this village droughts may be more frequent. Similarly, starvation, death. Trend analysis then and now, very simple. You ask people what was the situation 10 years ago, what is the situation now. Now, then extreme shortage of water, now drinking water is available, lack of irrigation, better irrigation, poor housing, stone houses, less diseases, malaria. Now, when This then and now was done by us in a village of Udaipur. In Udaipur earlier there was severe shortage of water. Now because of canals there is no shortage of water and they are also growing wheat and paddy, but malaria has come. Earlier when there was no water there was no malaria, but now when there is more water then there is more malaria also. Seasonal diagram similarly can be drawn in different months or different seasons or different agricultural seasons or different quarters, and you can show whatever you want to show in terms of lines. Venn diagram, this is one of the main things or one of the main types of diagrams used in participatory research. In simple Hindi they are also called chapati diagram, because the circles of Venn diagram look like chapatis, and using terminologies of people itself can be attractive to people. It represents individuals, castes, phenomena in the form of circles or chapatis, using them creatively to show the distances, differences, etc. Now, this is a Venn diagram of caste hierarchy, and this is one perspective. Maybe in one hamlet of a larger revenue village. So, in one hamlet when you meet people and ask them to show which castes are close to which other castes and which castes are more numerous, this bigger is the size of the circle, it means more numerous. So, like here caste 3 seems to be most numerous in this village, in this hamlet, and caste 1 comes after that, then caste 2 and lastly the caste 4. And this arrangement of circles, different circles representing different castes 1, 2, 3, 4 also shows which castes interact with which other caste more frequently. Like this shows that caste 4 and caste 1 have absolutely no interaction. 1 and 4 also do not interact with 2 and 3, but there is some relationship, some interaction between 2 and 3. Now, in the same village from the different hamlet you may find another picture. So, there is no standardization, and we also do not expect the same result by triangulation or multi-sited study. We expect people to differ. We expect that different people or people belonging to different hamlets or castes or communities or educational groups or income groups will produce different perspectives on development, interactions, facilities, quality of facilities, job satisfaction or overall well-being or subjective well-being or happiness or mental disorders, all these things. So, in the same village the other perspective says that caste 3 is most numerous and the lowest in size is caste C6. C6 is lowest in number, C3 they will not say C3, C2, they will give the exact name. They may say that Bhumihar Brahmins are maximum in this village and Kayasthas are least, and they will also show which caste is close to which other caste. In this C4 interacts with C3, there is some amount of commonness also which may arise because of education or similarity of occupation or things like that. This is the Venn diagram of institutional relationship, likewise cultural, religion, PRI, which interacts, which banking, watershed program, there is role of banking in watershed program, but there is no role of banking in culture and religion. So, this is a Venn diagram of relationship. This is again a map which shows a number of things in the village. These are ligands. In terms of ligands you can read them. Then you can also show in the field of health. Some people have tried this in the field of health, and you see in the diagram so many things are important. size of the circle, radius or circumference or size of the circle. This is one. Different these different circles show different diseases, and size of circle differs. Here it is written in the ligand that the size of the circle indicates perceived danger, that is bigger the circle, more dangerous the disease is. But you can tell people to show some other aspect of disease by the size of the circle. Size in itself or diagram in itself is not important. What is important is the optimal knowledge about the situation. So, you ask them, अच्छा ठीक है, tell us कि which threats are more, and this highest circle shows the tuberculosis. Threat of tuberculosis, people perceive danger of tuberculosis maximally and perceive the danger of fever less, like that. And then there are inside circles. You can ask about aspects of diseases, whether the disease is very costly to treat or less costly to treat, or for how much time does it make you incapable of functioning and it makes you dysfunctional. So, in terms of time, so many things. So, from this person's perspective, this is the disease pattern, and different aspects of diseases are shown. Similarly, here Venn diagram of institutional relationships, and there one is smooth lines, another diagram is shown with dotted lines. These are at two different points of time. Money lender, society cum fair price shop, and NGO. The positions of the three have changed over time, and this is shown by changes in or shifting of circles. Circles have expanded or narrowed down, like SAIT, importance of SAIT has declined, importance of this society cum fair price shop has expanded, and the importance of NGO in the life of villagers has also expanded. There are some, like with any other technique, there are limitations and future scope of participatory methods. Participatory methods require an interdisciplinary team of experts. It cannot be done by sociologists alone or economists alone, because the issues are complicated, complex and interdisciplinary. So, you require interdisciplinary teams of experts. You also require special aptitude, more people friendly, more open, more empathy, more sensitivity to people's problem. People's perspective, more sensitivity to people's perspective rather than managerial perspective or experts perspective. Then it is good for understanding people's perspective, but not for objective quantitative study. It cannot produce numbers. It is impractical for individual research scholars, though I am aware some PhD students have also used participatory methods in diverse field, in field like health, but this is better done by interdisciplinary teams of researchers, by organizations, and many international organizations have employed, like World Bank, such organizations have employed these techniques for understanding economic and agro and ecological systems, livelihood patterns, migratory patterns, malnutrition, disease patterns, and so on. For variety of reasons, and they have not been able to compete with quantitative survey based research or qualitative research, and in the academics they are not so popular. The importance of participatory research is increasing, no doubt, but still they are not so popular as survey or as qualitative method. Actually, these days in different fields of social sciences, qualitative methods are more in use, and in psychology, in sociology, students are using more of qualitative methods rather than quantitative methods, but in qualitative methods it is more towards grounded theory or coding, narrative analysis, and very few people are using participatory method. But in the study of developmental issues from people's perspective, yes, participatory technique can be of enormous help, and this is best for triangulation. Maybe you can combine your survey or qualitative methods with participatory techniques. What it means that in participatory research, you call a meeting of the villagers, and maybe villagers are if they are literate, it is good, well and good, but if they are illiterate, still they can draw simple maps on earth with the help of pencils, papers or stones or twigs, or you can give them colors, and they can draw circles of various sizes and ask them to show a characteristic with the help of color, size, and all of them will be able to do. And when they are drawing, like in case of health, which diseases are more deadly, they will draw a bigger circle for something like cancer, they will draw a small circle for something like cold. Then you ask how costly it is, or you can ask to what extent people of this village community are affected, and use lines, circles, some other ligands for showing differences in these things, and discuss. The discussion with people when they are drawing or they are playing also contributes to knowledge about the issue, and these are participatory methods. Thank you.